Ladies and gentlemen, say a prayer with me because we're about to get into one of the most contentious issues of our time. The new old school RuneScape prayer book. I know, it's been a week, but I didn't want to get into the ramble about the new prayers without knowing the finalized versions. Now the poll blog is live and there have been a lot of changes made today, but we're voting on these sometime soon. I'm your host, Mission Solo, unfortunately not nominated for the best new YouTuber Golden Gnome, but my good friend SoloMission is nominated for the best video maker in the Golden Gnomes. It takes 1 minute to vote, and I really think it'll be a great idea if you voted for that guy. Shattered Relics League, Grandmaster Mission, we've got Fresh Start series, every single update covered, we've got his, if you like to be Gillinor Games, the Gillinor Games reviews, all of it going on. He's a great friend of mine, and I know he'd really appreciate that vote. It takes literally 1 minute of your time. Now, before we dive into the poll blog, I just want to explain where my head's at with these new prayers. And after all things considered, I think these new prayers shouldn't be replacing the old prayers absolutely everywhere in the game. Yes, I know they're going to be from a Grandmaster quest. Yes, I know you're probably going to have a higher prayer level to use them and stuff, but I think making decisions about what you're using in certain spots and certain places is part of what makes this game very interesting. And to have the new prayers replace the old prayers in every circumstance, I think that's less interesting, isn't it? Let's use the analogy of the spellbooks. You use all three spellbooks throughout RuneScape. Even if you're a max player, there's different spots for them all. And I just think it's a shame to just completely eliminate the old prayer book and get rid of that diversity. Here we go, the updated Greenlight poll block. Now remember, these prayers are coming into old school RuneScape, and it's going to be the biggest change to PVM we have ever seen. Prayers affect every single encounter in this game, so it's important to get this right, and there's like some responsibility here that these are decent for the game. I mean, I always feel that way, so I want both prayer books to be used. So we're obviously going to get more power, and I'm going to advocate here that we need some trade-offs as well. However, you might not think the same, but that's going to bring us some incredible power creep, which I don't know if that's healthy. Like, everything is designed around our current system of the current prayer book and etc. So I don't know. But just bear that in mind, that power creep, it can run out of hand and make the game unrecognizable within a few years. That's the main reason I quit in 2011. So I'm a bit more tentative on some of these issues than maybe people that played all the way up to EOC. I think the best place for me to start here is with the offensive prayers, because it will frame the whole prayer book around these very powerful DPS increases, which, let's be honest, no one ever votes no to a DPS increase. So they're passing and we're going to get them. Decimate is the melee version, which is 7% more strength than Piety, which is a lot of max hits. Same case with Annihilate, which is 30% range strength, which is 7% more than Rigor. And we've got Vaporize, which is 4% mage damage, which is 4% more than Augury. So all of these prayers will give you extra max hits and a lot more DPS. DPS is king. So we're starting off very strong. They have the drawbacks that they don't have any defense bonus. But to be honest, you're praying against things and avoiding things for the most part in PVM. So I don't see that as a massive downside. Based on these three prayers alone, you're going to want to use this prayer book absolutely everywhere. And this is where I'm going to get onto. I think we need some drawbacks, because nothing has ever got close to the amount of damage increase in a single update compared to these prayers. Don't get it twisted. I know the numbers look a bit small and stuff, but very, very powerful. But I think we need that power, so I'm going to vote yes, and I think pretty much everyone is going to vote yes to these three prayers, so I think they're going to come. We then have the lesser versions, which will require a lower prayer level, but don't give you as much of an offensive boost. Vote yes to them as well, because I need to fill out the prayer book. I'm happy with that. Pretty standard stuff. And then we have this one prayer, Trinitas, which is plus 15% in everything. You can switch it on, and it's like a tribrid prayer. Say you're in the Nilo room, you could just flick this on, and it would help you out there. I think people would use this, mobile users, people getting into PVM and stuff. I know a lot of people don't like this prayer. I think it's a decent idea for PKers and all those sort of people. Just bridging the gap to some endgame PVM when it's a bit daunting in the mid game. And honestly, I'd probably use this prayer myself in certain circumstances, so I don't know. I think it's got a place and it's just a different option for people. So we've just got tremendous power. Now we have to harness it with some downsides. No, please, don't say downsides. But I think we really do need them. Let's be honest with ourselves here. There has to be some sort of drawback. So this just isn't, oh, here's an extra 7% damage on everything everywhere in the game. How boring. Now, we've got 4 different types of protection prayers. Strap yourselves in because nobody knows the answers apparently to these problems. Right. We got dampen, which is protecting you from 90% of damage. So if you get hit for a 9, you'd actually get hit for a 0. It's like protect from range, for example. So you get ranged and it would be a 9, it would be a 0. Whereas if it would have been a 19, it would now be a 1 because it's rounding it down. So very small amounts of damage taken, but that damage will be significant to certain pieces of content. So for example, Inferno, you'd never use this prayer book if it was just dampen because a mage could hit you a 7. Or maybe you would if you had good inventory management, which would make it interesting to use this prayer book there, if it was feasible. However, people hate chip damage. Chip damage this, chip damage that. I'll say this about chip damage. You didn't know the words existed till 5 months ago. You're basing your opinions off a Tombs of a Massacre invocation, which is priced at 20 raid level when it should be priced at 70. And that has skewed your whole idea of this chip damage. What about in Gauntlet? That chips you down. What about all these other bosses? Like, I don't know. We need damage in the game. You need to be getting damage somehow, even if you're playing perfectly, I think, because supply management is part of what makes encounters interesting. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but that is my opinion. I think that hit points should matter. I think you should have to choose with how many switches you bring versus how much food and potions you bring. And I think this is a good way to keep that going, to be honest. And it's a decent broad drawback to this prayer book. Now, everyone hates this one, but from what I've seen, everyone seems to love this one, which is essentially exactly the same thing, but you get to do an extra bit of damage by deflecting what you've just taken. So I'm also very happy with deflect, and I think this is what we're going to end up with here. When it goes to the polls, I think this is the best option. One thing I don't see mentioned too much with this whole protection prayer debacle is that I don't think it doesn't even make a difference lots of the places. So for example, Chambers, you spend the entire raid not getting hit by things. At Ohm, you don't get hit. At Tecton, Vespula, Mystics, you lure them, Guardians, all these rooms, you're not even using your protection prayers. So I'd use the new prayer book there, absolutely. Then we have the Tombs of a Massacre. You don't get hit by Akka for the most part. I mean, yeah, I'm talking about the upper echelons here. You don't get hit directly by Carefree. You don't get hit for loads of P3. It's not like, I don't know. And you're already getting chipped by Baba. Zabak, yeah, you'll have a little bit of chip damage, but I don't know. There's already an invocation that people seem to have dealt perfectly fine with coping with it. So like for that extra damage, 7% DPS extra, let's say, from all these offensive prayers, what you have to all of a sudden have the quiet prayers on or whatever it's called. I don't know. Bring 2 Bruce. Like, that's the trade-off. Bank your fucking boot switch or whatever. And then Theatre of Blood, you don't get hit at all by Bloat in terms of overheads. You don't get hit at all by Zarpus either. Like the Nilos, like Maiden's already chipping you down. Verdict's already chipping you down. So you're not really going to feel the effects too badly. So this deflect prayer, I don't know, not too big of a deal compared to what people are making out. Yeah, Inferno, I can see. Inferno could be a place for the normal prayer book. Absolutely, because the mage are constantly hitting you for 4s. The ranger constantly hitting you for like 2s and 3s. Might get a bit much to deal with. But for the most part, it's not really going to have a significant impact. You already get chipped down in Gauntlet. When you're doing Barrage Slayer, for example, all the monsters can't even hit above a 10 anyway. A Dust Devil has a max hit of 8, so you're getting hit zeros the entire time. So you use the new prayers there. You're already using these new prayers all over the game after these fairly minimal downsides, in my opinion. We then had this absorb idea where you'd essentially be taking damage to your prayer points rather than your hit points, which again, I think that's a decent idea. And I'd welcome Absorb alongside... I welcomed Absorb alongside the Damper. I thought that was a good idea, but everyone hated it. So, yeah, we don't get that. I think that would be nice because it gives some variety. You can make the decision about what to use in certain spots. Say you've got a lot of prayer potions left at the end of Inferno. You're like, okay, we're going to use Absorbs for a bit. Get the prayer points battered down a bit. And then you're chopping and changing based on the scenario. So I think decisions to be made, big thumbs up. I'm a fan of that. The fourth and final option we have here is Withstand. Protect from 100% of incoming damage, just like a normal protection prayer, but your defense is reduced by 33% while active. Now, on paper, I think this sounds decent, but in reality, when I actually think of the bosses we have in the game, I don't think this is enough of a downside, personally, because you just pray against the primary boss thing, which is generally it's just player versus the boss and not like loads of other things. So you're already praying the correct style, and generally if a boss hits through your prayer, it's already has a very high accuracy, like Gauntlet, for example, I'm just thinking of right now. So this would kind of just play like a normal protection prayer, which in my opinion, I don't think that's enough of a downside, like I said. Okay, so we're getting overhead defensive prayers, even more power. Now, Gambit used to be the low life prayer. I still think we really need a low life mechanic in RuneScape. Even if it's just a PvP one, reward from Bounty Hunter, write it down. Like the PVMers seem to be crying about this low life thing, so get it in PvP. I think all PvPers would welcome some low life accuracy thing. So yeah, it got rejected, and now it's just an overhead, which provides 8% accuracy when all styles are used. So you'd just be using this when you're not getting hit, so you could flick to it, I'm assuming, and then, yeah, just extra accuracy. So now, bear in mind, we've got 30% strength coming from our respective styles, essentially, and now we've got 28% accuracy, so we're more accurate and we're more strong than ever before on the other prayer book. Don't tell me that this one is not powerful, because it definitely is. The downside of this is you can't use an overhead, but if you can off-tick things, it's all good, because you can just use Gambit now, and that increases the skill ceiling. I quite like it. I do quite like it still. I prefer if it was how it used to be, but it is what it is. I'll be voting yes to it regardless. Then we have Rebuke, which is essentially a vengeance type, recoil type prayer. Say if you were going to get hit 100, if you turn this on, you'll get hit 115, but you'll deal 15 damage back to your target, which is good for certain situations where you want to pop a vengeance, that sort of thing, on speed running. When you've got tons of food and it's the last kill of your trip, you may as well throw this up and get it over with a little bit faster. Or say if you're in the Gauntlet, the boss is on 5 hit points, you're on 57 hit points, just turn this on and it'll kill itself. So I'm a big fan of this prayer. I think it makes for some interesting gameplay. And then we have Vindication, which is essentially redemption, but you heal less. However, for 6 seconds after the Vindication triggers, you'll be able to hit an attack with 10% bonus damage. I think this is a cool mechanic. It's still low life-y, so I don't really get why we can't have the low life version of Gambit here alongside. Possibly annoying to use. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, actually. Maybe that is quite annoying to constantly be using. Or maybe it's just extra skill. I don't know how I feel. I think I like it, though. I think I do like it. It's worth noting that some places use redemption, such as the Vespula solo method. You won't be able to use this because it doesn't heal you enough hit points. So maybe you'd have to use the normal prayer book for challenge mode. That's the variety we're getting, or the trade-off. Or you could do Vespula normally. Or maybe you have a combination of teammates on different prayer books. I don't know. Now, here are some new additions. The Ancient Vows, because we weren't powerful enough. We need more power. Yep, more power. So bear in mind, I like the way this is going. I think we're going to be using this prayer book everywhere. Let's be honest. I'm dying inside, but we'll continue. So we're splitting up 4 different vows for 4 different styles of the Ancient Spellbook. Well, that's the theme anyway. First off, Crawl's Vow. While active, you have a 10% chance to heal 10% of the damage you dealt with any combat style. Are you Soul Split in disguise? This is essentially Soul Split, but incredibly nerfed. Yeah, and to be honest, I'm voting yes because I don't want the full Soul Split at all. Soul Split, for people that don't know, healed you is exactly this, but the healing was way more. There's not a 10% chance, it was just 10% or something stupid. I think it was even like 20%, I don't know. I can't even remember. But Soul Split removes the need to bring food anywhere and removes a hell of a lot of decision making from the game, making the game a lot more boring. That's my take on it, so I do not want Soul Split in the game. This is there to appease people that do want Soul Split in the game, and it's essentially 1% healing, which isn't a lot. It's really not a lot at all. You have to, if you do 100 damage, you're getting 1 hit point back. But it's not going to feel like that, because say if you hit 70 with your T-bow, sometimes you get 7 back, which feels nicer than getting 0.7 back. So yeah, Crawl's Vow, some healing. I'm voting yes because I don't want Soul Split, and this is a good blocker. Classic Jagex tactic right there. Give them something weak so they stop bringing it up. I see you. Right, second, we've got Glacey's Vow, which is a 20% chance to deal more magic damage, and the damage is dealt is 10% of your initial hit. So basically more magic damage good. Okay, that's building off the 4% magic damage we already have, so is that effectively 2% more? So like 6% magic damage? I don't know. Is that maths correct? Maybe not. Yeah, it's good, I guess. Magic damage, more offense. Sure, let's go for it. Umbra's Vow, I quite like this one. You're draining your defense. You're draining your opponent's defense by 10%, and it has a cap. It's like shadow spells. You can't go more than 15%. So Dragon Warhammer is still relevant because that's 50%. Quite like this one for when you miss your Dragon Warhammer specs. It's also good for all styles, say if you're ranging. But again, pretty powerful for a non-overhead that you can just have on the side. I'm assuming you can have all these things. You can't have all these vows on. You can just have one vow on. But we could have this vow on to drain defense, and we could have our overhead, which makes us more accurate in Gambit, and we could have our decimate, which gives us 20% accuracy and 30% strength. So we're going to be very, very, very powerful on this prayer book, and they're going to be melting NPCs. But yeah, you know, why not? Fuck it. Let's add it. I mean, it's like a nice way to introduce power. It's annoying when things are really high defense, I think, and you miss your specs. So you'd whack that on, and you can sacrifice healing then. I like that you have to choose between these. And if you're maging, you can't use this as well. So, well, you'd probably use this if you were maging. Or maybe this would be better. I don't know. So yeah, decisions to be made. I'm a big fan of decisions, as I've said so many times. And then Fumus's Vow. What the fuck is this, bro? There's like so much text. I'll give you the TLDR. You'll take more poison damage, but deal more poison damage while this is active. Seems kind of useless, but at the same time, I like when they add a seemingly useless-ish thing, and it ends up having a use. So, yeah. Let's whack this on there, because someone will find a use for it somewhere. We need to fill this prayer book out, and not every prayer has to be amazing. Otherwise, you'd have the entire thing selected the whole time. So I'll be voting yes to all these. I think they're good. We got rid of some of the variety and uniqueness, as some of the old prayers were ditched. But I think these help appease people that think that damage buffs are too boring, just being damage buffs. And I like that you have to make choices. Utility prayers. Big fan. I think we need utility prayers to fill out the prayer book, and they'll be useful in some niche scenarios, such as Ruinous Grace. Drains prayer points instead of run energy. Can't see why this is a bad idea. You could clutch up some situations using some prayer instead of run. Might change the meta a bit, but not in like a crushing way. I quite like it. Ruinous Smite. I guess they figure we need Smite on here for PvP, for Musper. In fact, do we really need Smite? It's more smiting, but you also are smiting yourself because you're using your own prayer points. And that's one thing that hasn't been discussed, the prayer point drainage. You know, that's... I'm looking Jagex in the eyes, and I'm seeing that that's the ace up their sleeve that they used to balance this prayer book, because it's seeming very good right now, but wait until this bad boy drains 1 prayer point per tick, bro. It's gonna... that might just be the leveler that no one is expecting, and I'm secretly kind of hoping it ends up being something like that they feel like draining to use because they're so powerful. I don't know. And that's some of the balance we can get. I know what just sneaky, bro. Sneaky. It's coming, and everyone's gonna cry about it. Smite. I don't really mind. Wrath, that is just retribution in a 5x5 radius. Why not? Don't really mind it. Doesn't really have too much of an effect. Rejuvenation, that is just rapid heal. We kind of need that on the prayer book to reset the hit points regeneration timer. That's why that is there. So you can stay 121. People quite like that for certain methods, so I think it makes sense to keep it. And then metabolize. This one is a very weird one. Changes the eat delay, and I'm not sure if this was for just hard food or for all food. No, essentially when you eat, you have to wait 3 ticks to then attack something. If you have this prayer on, if you eat, you have to wait 2 ticks to attack something. So you save some time there and it speeds you up. Now, I'm not sure if you could spam brews in PvP and it'll be 2 ticks apart or 3 ticks apart, because it says food are brews food. I'm not sure what they mean by this. It'll be good to see in a beta. And that is true of all of these prayers. It's really difficult for anyone in the entire world to know how these are going to feel to use all together. Who knows? They could be way busted, or they could be bad because they drain tons of prayer points. We just don't know, and we are voting them into a beta, so this isn't a nail in the coffin if we vote yes to these, but like it's one of those things, like we vote yes and then people just vote yes again. In terms of PVM, I think all the high-level PVMers are going to be using this prayer book everywhere in the game, outside of maybe Inferno, but then never write people off. The only thing that might get them is that prayer drain and that you can't flick prayers and stuff. So in high invocation, TOAs, maybe it's not viable. There's so much that's up in the air. This is why we need to get this stuff into a beta, which they're doing, and testing it. For your mid-game sort of players, you'll be using this for Slayer, I imagine. And yeah, most PVM, like why? I really don't see much of a downside at the moment, but that's why I'm thinking the prayer drain is going to get people and catch everyone off guard. The skilling prayers got removed, even though they got voted in. Maybe I don't know how I feel about skilling prayers. Not too bothered about them, really, is my stance. Maybe there can be a skilling prayer book along in 2025 and some like lunar quest extension. I don't even know. As for PvP, it's always an interesting one. In the lower level combat brackets, I'm anticipating you have that decision. Do you want to get all the prayer levels and increase your combat level? Probably it's looking like it is going to be worth it. But there still might be some variety there, because the normal prayer book is decent-ish. It depends on the defense requirements of the quest as well. There's so much up in the air right now. In terms of NHing, say Deep Worldy, you don't have any defensive prayers, so don't underestimate how squishy you become in terms of outlasting. I wouldn't be surprised to see people still using the normal prayers, especially with the drain rate and stuff like that. Looking like there's no protect item on this new prayer book as well, so that's something to consider. So for PvP, it seems like it's in a decent spot, actually. I like to think, like, I'm seeing people PKing with Gambit and all this sort of stuff. Maybe raising the skill ceiling a bit. The top people, I think, will be using this NHing, as you get extra damage, so KOing people is the name of the game a lot of the time, and yeah, getting a few max hits never hurt anyone's chances there. Alright, here we go. Let's vote on this stuff. I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm choosing Dampen and Absorb. Deflect. Yeah, this is the biggest choice for me to make. I definitely would rather have deflect than withstand, to be honest. I don't know. Why not chuck them all in the beta? Have all 4 of the protection prayers and see what people want. Maybe do that. I'm voting for that one though. Yeah, let's vote yes to all these offensive prayers. They're gonna pass, mate, definitely. I think one thing that is tough for Jagex is that everyone's like, oh, that's not interesting enough. But the way the entire game is balanced around the current prayer book. So the new prayer book has to resemble it somewhat in terms of you have to have some sort of damage prevention and overhead, and you have to have some sort of damage buff in terms of an offensive prayer. It's a tough spot for them, I think, to come out of anything like drastically new without it being super complicated or niche. Yeah, let's go through it all. This, once again, we're putting it in a beta here. We're not ruining the entire game just yet. Let's see how they do. I'm voting yes. Am I voting yes for everything? Hell yes, brother. But yeah, I think so much hangs in the balance of the overheads and the prayer drain rate, to be honest, which isn't really mentioned a whole lot on here. So we shall see. See you in the beta, because that is going to decide everything here. Obviously, these are just my opinions, so, you know, take them with a grain of salt. I don't think we can tell until we get to that beta what is going to happen with these prayers. If you do enjoy these videos, subscribe to the second channel, Mission Solo. I'm on the come up, you know, on my grind. And go vote for my friend, Mr. SoloMission, in the Golden Gnomes. Goodbye.